Lama tak jumpa. And it's good to be back here again, and happy to share some of our Buddha's teachings, as well as also some fundamental doctrines. And I believe the last time probably I talked too much until the subject didn't finish. So I have to continue today, though with the same subject, Sigalovada Sutta. And some of you may not be here, so I will just have to run off of what has transpired during the last talk, so that at least you can get a picture before I go into the, the subject continuation. I think we stopped at the duties of husband to the wife. And someone says, what about the wife? Duty to the husband. The one some males asking. So we say, okay, we will continue the next time. Because too much duty of the husband to the wife, that's why you cannot finish. Okay. Now, Sigalovada Sutta, let me start with saying about this occasion. And there was this young Sigala, who is a householder son, one of the young person. And the father was trying to get him to go to the center, the Buddhist center, to learn about Buddha's teachings. Never succeeded. Until one fine day, he managed to pull young Sigala to the center, meet up with the Buddha, and then the Buddha saw a good opportunity to enlighten him. So at that time, when Sigala rising early in the morning, departing from Rajkaha is the current day is called Rajgir. So for those of you who have been to Vulture's Peak, that city is called Rajgir, and nice place. Especially now they have a cable chair, a lift chair. So you can't walk up the Vulture's Peak hill. You take a lift chair and then you go all the way up. So tourism has actually prospered. So he was departing from Rajkaha, and with wet clothes, wet hair, means he just got ready. And he worshipped with joint hands the various quarters. As usual, the Brahmins, whenever they do their worshipping, their prayers, they pray in 4 directions and then above and below. So the exalted one, having robed himself in the forenoon, then went into Rajkaha. Then he saw Sigala worshipping. Then he says, okay, this is a good chance to explain to him why he's worshipping in the 6 directions. So the Buddha always use examples, day examples or real activities, and then explain so that the followers can actually grasp it faster. So, wherefore do you, young householder, rising early in the morning, departing from Rajkaha with wet clothes and wet hair, worship with joint hands, these various quarters, the east, the south, the west, and the north, the nadir and the zenith. Then he mentioned about Sigala mentioned that, my father, Lord, while dying, said to me that the 6 quarters, dear son, you shall worship. And I, Lord, respecting and reverencing and honoring my father's words, rise early in the morning, leaving Rajkaha with wet clothes and wet hair, worship with joint hands, these 6 quarters. Now, it is not thus, young householder, the 6 quarters should be worshipped in the discipline of the noble. Then he said, how then, Lord, should the 6 quarters be worshipped in the discipline of the noble? It is well, Lord, if the exalted one would teach the doctrine to me, showing how the 6 quarters should be worshipped in the discipline of the noble. And well, young householder, listen and bear it well in mind. for I shall speak. And then, very good, sir, responded young Sigala. So the Buddha then took this opportunity and said, inasmuch young householder, as the noble disciple has eradicated the 4 vices in conduct, inasmuch as he commits no evil ways in 4 ways, inasmuch as he pursues not the 6 channels for dissipating wealth, he does then avoid 14 evil things, cover the 6 quarters, and enters the path leading to victory in both worlds, here and after. He is favored then in this world, and he's also in the world beyond. Upon the dissolution of the body after death, he will be born in a happy heavenly realm. So then, of course, Sigala asked, what are the 4 vices in conduct that he has eradicated? Then the Buddha answered that the destruction of life, householder, is a vice. So is stealing, so is sexual misconduct, so is lying, and so is intoxication. Now, these are 4 vices that one would have eradicated. Thus spoke the Exalted One. And when the Master has thus spoken, he then says that these 4, killing, stealing, lying, and adultery, are the 4 vices that the wise never praised. Now, where can you find these 4 vices, and when can you avoid these 4 vices? That is when you practiced what we call the 5 precepts. So these 5 precepts is actually trying to reduce the vices in your life. Then he asks again, in which 4 ways does one commit no evil action? Because when you are led by desire, then you commit evil. Because desire will then lead you to commit evil deeds. Led by fear does one commit evil. Because of fear of certain things, fear of losing things, fear of not being able to, achieve your goals, or being obstructed by someone, then that is when you do an evil deed. But as much as the noble disciple is not led by desire, anger, ignorance, and fear, then he will not commit evil. Now remember, we are talking about desire, anger, ignorance, and fear. Then we see this keyword called ignorance. Ignorance will lead to desire. Ignorance will lead to fear. And then, when you have desire and fear, then you will lead to anger. So, all the defilements in our mind actually derives from fear. Fear comes from ignorance because you do not know. You are you don't have knowledge about how to resolve things. That's why you are afraid. Like for example, you do not know how ghosts behave. Who are ghosts? What are they? What do they eat? What do they live on? And because you are ignorant, that's why you fear. A lot of us kiakui. So why are we afraid of ghosts? Because we are ignorant of them. So ignorance leads to fear. Fear then leads to committing of evil deeds. So whoever through desire, hate, or fear, or ignorance, then you will transgress the Dhamma, the teachings. So all his glories will then fade away, like the moon during the waning half. Waning half means when you reach the half moon, slowly the moon will grow smaller and smaller and smaller, and then left only one crescent until you don't see it. And then it starts to appear back again. So you have the new moon and the full moon. So of ignorance, whoever through desire, hate, or fear, or ignorance never transgresses the Dhamma, all his glory ever increases, like the moon during the waxing half. Right? Waxing half means if you have been able to transgress the Dhamma, then your mind becomes clearer and clearer. The moon becomes fuller and fuller. Then again, he mentioned about the 6 channels for dissipating wealth. He is trying to teach Sigala, right? That these are the 6 channels that you can lose your wealth. Whatever you have, you will lose it away. What are these? They are indulgence in intoxication, which causes infatuation and heedlessness. The moment you like to enjoy going to what you call the pubs, or to shows, or to karaoke, or to gambling, these are all indulgence, and these are all intoxicating. That means to say, you get attached. Once you are intoxicated, you do not know how to end. So it can lead to the dissipating of wealth. Sauntering in the streets at unseemly hours. That means you come back at night, late nights, sauntering in the street at unseemly hours. Because you are doing that, that's why you neglect your families, neglect your home. Your home could be insecure, or robbers could have entered. So your wealth would have been dissipated. Frequenting theatrical shows. That means every day must watch a show until you cannot see anything else. Indulgence in gambling is also one of this. Because you know those gamblers, they own a lot of properties, but at the end of the day, all got lost. And you can hear a lot of people who have actually became paupers, lost all their wealth just because of gambling. Association with evil companions. That means to say your friends is always leading you to all the vices and never give you wisdom. And lastly, of course, the habit of idleness. That means lazy. There are a lot of people who have a lot of wealth, but lazy to go and make use of the wealth to do something beneficial, gain some profits, increase the wealth. Unfortunately, as they are lazy, they keep on spending what they own, and one fine day all the wealth will disappear. Especially, they always say that wealth cannot last 3 generations. Why? Because the next generation, this generation works very hard, gets a lot of wealth. The next generation says, since I'm born with a silver spoon, I just basically maintain whatever that is being done by my father, and then subsequently enjoy myself as much as possible. The third generation worse. You're born with everything, also no need to do already, because all late for them. So all they have to do is just to spend the money only. And the more you spend, the more the wealth dissipates. So that's why you don't cross 3 generations if nothing is done. Then what does it lead? It leads to 6 evil consequences. Loss of wealth, very quarrelsome. You quarrel, you fight with people. Susceptible to disease, because when you are not well rested, you spend a lot of time, unseemly hours, and you enjoy theatrical shows until your eyes turn black. Right? Earning an evil reputation. People find that you have what you call no credibility. You gamble a lot. You have a lot of all these vices. So therefore, you are not a good person to associate with. Shameless exposure of body. When you are drunk, you don't know what you can control. And sometimes you bear yourself. Then a weakening of intellect. That means you lose your thinking power, your intellectual power. And of course, if you saunter in the streets, then your cell will be unprotected, because someone can just come and rob you. Your wife and children are also unprotected. Your property is also unprotected. And if there is any what you call robbery or any bad events that happens, because you are sauntering in the streets and wandering at the unseemly hours, you could be blamed. You could be a suspect. And you may subject to false rumor that such and such a person, he could have been doing it, and or he could have entered people's house and robbed someone, and he meet with many troubles. So all these things can come about. Then of course, if you enjoy theatrical shows, then you have what we call a lot of involvement in dancing, singing, music, recitation, playing with symbols, and then pot blowing. And of course, at that time, there was this, what you call making of music through the pots. Then, when you get gambling involvement, then the winners will always beget health. Nobody likes a winner. But when you lose money, everybody forgets you. The loser grieves for your lost wealth. Then you lose your wealth. Then your word is not relied upon in a court of law because you are a gambler. Your reputation and credibility is gone. And you are despised by your friends and your associates. And if the would-be, what you call prospect family who wants to marry off the daughter or the son to you, you will then be not sought after because people would say that he's a gambler and not fit, good enough to look after the wife. So these 6 evil consequences in associating with evil companions, gamblers, libertine, drunkard, is never a good association. Therefore, young householder, these 6 evil consequences, when it's being addicted to idleness, when you are lazy, it does no work, saying, oh, it's cold, too cold to work, too hot to work, too late to work, too early to work, and hungry, cannot work, and finally, too full also cannot work. Once in that kind of situation, then a lot of duties will be undone, new wealth he does not get, and the wealth he is acquired will then dwindle away. So thus spoke the exalted one, and when he has spoken, he spoke again, and he says, one is a bottle friend. Friend is only to that one's face. One is a friend and associate only when it is advantageous. So sleeping till sunrise, adultery, irascibility, malevolence, evil companions, avarice, all these 6 causes will ruin a person. And the person who has evil comrades and friends will then be given to evil ways. That's why the Buddha always advised, don't associate with the fools, associate with the wise. Dice, womanizing, liquor, dancing, singing, sleeping by day, sauntering at unseemly hours, evil companions, it ruins a man. So who by habit sleeps by day, keep late hour, is ever intoxicated, is licentious, is not fit to lead a householder life. Who says it's too hot, too cold, too late, and leaves things undone, the opportunities for good go past such men. But he who does not regard cold heat any more than a blade of grass, and who does his duty manfully, does not fall away from happiness. So, these 4 young householders should be understood as foes in the guise of friends. People who appropriates a friend's possession, cheats you, who renders lip service but does not help, who flatters you and get you big-headed, but at the end, dump you out, and one who brings you ruin, or put it this way, cause you to lose your property and your wealth. These ones are not your friends. So try to avoid. In 4 ways should one who operates to be understood as a foe. Sorry, this one is already mentioned. Next one is, in 4 ways, young householder should one render lip service. He makes friendly profession as regards to the past. He makes friendly profession as regards to the future. He tries to gain one's favor by empty words. And when opportunity for service has arisen, he expresses his inability. When the time of need, he disappears. Right? Again, there are 4 ways which is understood as a foe in the guise of a friend. He approves of his friend's evil deeds. He disapproves of his friend's good deeds and say, why you continue always do charity? Waste your time, waste your money. You should spend time to go and have a drink and enjoy yourself, keep yourself happy. He praises him in his presence, but he speaks ills at the back in his absence. This one, friend or not? So in 4 ways again, he's a companion in indulging intoxication that cause you to have infatuation and heedlessness. He is a companion in sauntering in streets at unseemly hours. He is a companion in frequenting your theatrical shows. He is a companion in indulging in gambling, which causes you. So he brings you to all these events and gets you intoxicated. Again, a friend who appropriates, a friend who renders lip service, a friend who flatters, a friend who brings ruin. These four are enemies of the wise. Avoid them as much as possible. Now, who are understood to be good friends or warm-hearted? He who is a helpmate, always at your side, helping you in every way. If he sees something is going on, he will then render his help. He who is the same in happiness and sorrow. If you're happy, they are also happy. If you are in sorrow, they are also what you call equally as sorrowful as you. And he gives you good counsel. He advises you, he teaches you, he educates you. And one who sympathizes whenever you are in trouble, whenever you meet with difficulties. Again, these are another four ways. He guards the heedless. That means he protects you when you are not able to protect yourself. He protects the wealth of the heedless. That means your wealth also, he makes sure that you don't squander off, and he can identify people who are coming for your wealth. He points them out to you. He becomes a refuge when you are in danger. He protects you, he brings you into his home, and what you call until the danger is over. When there are commitments, he provides you with double the supply needed. That means he goes out of the way in order to provide. Again, these are friends who are in the same in happiness and sorrow. He reveals his secret, but he conceals one's own secret. That means he protects your secret. When you tell him certain and confide in him, he doesn't reveal it to others. In misfortune, he doesn't forsake you. In life, even he sacrificed for one's sake. Not many friends like that. So sometimes we have to sit back and think, who are our friends who are in this category, whom you should be treasuring and treasure as much. And if you can identify 1, 2, 3, make sure that you continue your association with them. Once a while, give them a call. Ask about their welfare and check on them, because they may also need your help. So when that, you create what we call a good bonding relationship, and very rare. So such rare people, treasure them. Sorry. Oh, this one has gone out. Okay, now let me move to the Sigalovada Sutta proper, when he talks about the 6 directions. Now, these 6 directions of north, south, east and west. The north represents your friends. The south represents your teachers. The east represents your parents. And the west represents your spouse. Here, of course, you put wife, because at that time the wife don't work. So not on equal, what do you call, working levels. So it's the husband who have to earn, who have to protect, who have to provide. And that's why the Buddha mentioned only the spouse as a wife. But now, of course, it's equal. You know, even Prime Minister also woman already. And you get many countries who have women prime ministers. So we have come to a time when we don't say the word wife anymore. Very, what you call, can be charged for chauvinism. So you must say spouse, neutral ground. Okay, then the Buddha came to the 6 quarters. And he says the following should be looked as the 6 quarters. The parents should be looked upon as the east, the teachers as the south, the wife and children as the west, friends and associates as the north, servants and employees as the nadir, and ascetic and brahmins as the zenith. Zenith means higher lah. So you have north, south, east, west, and bottom and above. So how does the Buddha represent them? Young householder, a child to administer to his parents as the east by doing these few things. We have mentioned that earlier. Having supported me, I shall support them. I shall do their duties. If they have been, taking care of the family, providing for the siblings. And if the parents are not able to, then I take over the duties. That's why sometimes you have big brother taking care of the financial, taking care of the duties of the parents towards the siblings. So when the parents are not around, the taikor is the leader of the pack. And so a lot of times you find that even this tradition has followed until today. That on the Chinese New Year, when the parents are not around, everybody will gather at the eldest sibling's house. So if there's no elder brother, then the elder sister. And out of respect, he is doing the duties and you are now reciprocating. I shall keep my family tradition. That means if the family has certain rules and regulations, certain customs, certain traditions, then you make sure that you keep track of it and follows it. I shall make myself worthy of my inheritance. If your parents have actually given you properties and assets and even financing, then make yourself worthy. Try to make them grow. Like now, current modern days now, a lot of parents do not have to wait until the last day, then only the will announce who gets what. Straight away provides for them. And this is also one of the Buddha's advice, is that you give the inheritance in proper time. Don't wait until you die, then only you give your inheritance. Then you will be fighting over it. And lately there was one viral video which shows in China, these siblings coming into the house when the father died and took the father's body from the coffin and throw the father's body on the ground. Why? Because never distribute enough in the will. Well, it can happen. So the Buddha says to avoid all these troubles, give at due time. So you call your children in and says, well, this is all I have. This for you, this for you, this for you, this for you. And if those who are doing business, this is the seed money, this is the seed money, this is seed money. I've started you, you go ahead, I've given you education. You should have what we call the fish to eat, rather, and learn how to fish also. So with that, now got balance, balance for Sambodhi Buddhist Center. Of course, wait until I go lah, they only give, don't give us. Because you still need a lot of money for your old age, And currently, when I was doing a lot of campaigning for senior living and age homes, then we would tell all the baby boomers and say, hey, don't give away everything. Make sure you have enough money to provide for the stay in your age home. And subsequently, you don't expect the children to pay for you, right? You have to pay yourself and prepare yourself for that. And it must last until your last day. So sometimes no choice, you have to take insurance, buy an insurance, or buy a long lease, 30 years. Now you're 60, so by 30 years, so 90. Hopefully you can live until 90. If you live beyond 90, lease over how? Hopefully you got an insurance which says that if you can live beyond 90, free, I will pay for you. Insurance do have that kind of provision. It's later on going to come in, that when you live until beyond 90, you pay now, you don't pay when you are 90. 90 cannot really. You pay now when you're 60, you buy the lease of 30 years, and including in that lease there is an insurance which says that You pay like a MRTA, a mortgage reducing term, what do you call assurance. You pay your, what do you call, insurance, and the insurance will say when you reach 90, the insurance take over to pay for your daily and your payments in the senior living home. Then you don't get thrown out into the streets when there's no more payment left. Because by that time you may have finished all your savings, right? So make yourself worthy of the inheritance, the children. Hopefully they still remember you. All right. Furthermore, I shall offer alms in honor of my departed relatives. That means to say, why our Chinese tradition, we always say, Yao Zai Song Zhong. Yao Zai Song Zhong means you have children to, when you die, you have children to actually do alms for you, do dana, and then transfer merits to you. Because at that time when you are somewhere in the realms, you don't need your Mercedes anymore. You don't need your, what do you call, big bungalow. You need merits, kongde merits. So someone must do that for you on your, what do you call, either on their own and then transfer to you, or on your behalf in memory of you. So this is your duty. If you are a child administering to the parents, you shall offer alms in honor of your departed relatives. Okay, so this one I think we have covered in the earlier talk. So this is just for those who missed it out. Now, when the children administer to the parents, now the parents must administer to the children. So it's a reciprocal. So show their compassion by asking them to restrain from evil deeds, protect them, teach them, educate them, and point out to them which one is evil and which one is good. Encourage them to do a lot of good. Be a good person. Encourage them and educate them. Then train them for a profession. That means teaching them how to fish, rather than give them fish to eat every time. Teach them how to fish so that they can then fish for themselves. So give them a profession, educate them, have a degree, or have a, what do you call, achievement in education, which can then enable them to have a good profession after that. So I think many parents are now doing that. Their main task is to ensure that the children has a good education and graduate well. Then after that is arrange a suitable marriage. I think this one, you get a lot of rebellion. Who is getting married, me or you? If the child is getting married, sometimes we have to observe times already. But advise them how to choose a good partner and what kind of partner should be good for you. But if they don't want to listen, there's nothing much you can do, right? But at least, but in the olden days, yes, you matchmake them, and then you say, this is the girl I picked for you, you have to marry. Now, where is this possible? This is no longer possible, all right? And at the proper time, hand over their inheritance to them. This is the advice the Buddha gave. Don't wait until your last, when you are no longer around, then they fight over the inheritance. Then, of course, now we talk about the South. The South is actually teacher and pupil. So, in 5 ways, a young householder is how a pupil should administer to the teacher. Number 1, when the teacher comes in, everybody rise in salutation or show respect. Acknowledge their arrival, acknowledge their presence. By attending to him, give them water, and give them a drink, a tea, and you make sure that the seat is comfortable, arranged for so that they are able then to teach. And that's the reason why we offer light, we offer flowers, we offer incense, we offer food, we offer what we call incense, and we offer tea or water. In the early days, actually the word in the Buddha's puja words means medicinal drinks. You offer leong cha, or a cup of tea. Why? Because in India at that time was actually very hot weather, so the body cannot have the proper biorhythm. Then you can get sick easily. so they have to drink a lot of medicinal drinks. And even they offer medicinal drinks that protects the voice, so that it's good voice, the sound is better. Like for example, opera singers, they take that kind of what do you call medicinal drinks. So you offer medicinal drinks. So at that time you offered to the Buddha all this, light to light up the place, incense to make the place fragrant and good smelling, like what do you call provide a good ambience. And then flowers is that you welcome him by putting the flowers and welcome him. And then of course incense, food or fruits. You offer fruits so that the Buddha can be refreshed and have his tidbits. And finally, of course, medicinal drinks. And this act continues until today, that when the Buddha image, we do the same offerings as we offer to the Buddha at that time. That was the meaning of puja. And by eagerness to learn, show an eagerness to learn, ask questions, pay attention, and therefore the teacher then get inspired to teach, to share. And then by personal service, some of them attend, help them to carry their bags, help them to take care of their clothes, help them to take care of what you call several items. Now in early days, most of the schools, it's all boarding, right? You want to attend the school, you have to go and stay in the school. And then you have to stay together with the teacher, sometimes even with the teacher's family, and attend to the teacher's family. And you have duty roster also, that you are supposed to cook for the whole community. And you cook for the teacher, you take care of him and his family. So therefore this is called personal service. And the last one of course is respectful attention while receiving attention, right? Now then how does a pupil, how does what do you call, administer by the pupils to the teacher? Sorry, this one is teacher to pupil, teacher to pupil. They train them in the best discipline. Give your best. Of course, some teacher says, I cannot teach you everything. I give you 95%, I still keep 5%. But that one only in martial arts only. So that in case the student becomes so good, want to kill the teacher, then you got your last chiu, 最好一招, you can then defend yourself. But the good lesson is the teacher teach whatever he knows. That's why sometimes even the Buddha mentioned that whatever I have learned, whatever I know, I hide nothing. I teach everything, right? Now, they see that they grasp their lesson well. So ensure that they understand what you are teaching. So it is always, what do you call, trying to drum the lesson. Those days they used to do, what do you call, recital or chanting education, oral tradition. That means the teacher will say, okay, repeat after me. Then, thus have I heard, thus have I heard, that on this occasion, that on this occasion. And then after they finished, then, okay, the teacher says, repeat the whole verse. Then through memory, you have to then recite it out. And that is the meaning of our chanting. Our chanting is reciting what the Buddha has taught us. So that is the tradition of chanting. And you notice that sometimes very chong hei, one verse. Then after that, repeat again the second verse. For the second time, you repeat. Third time, you repeat. And he says, wow, Buddha very chong hei. Actually, not chong hei. Sometimes in order to drum it into the mind, they have to do it 2 times, 3 times. So then only you will get absorbed. They instruct them in the arts and science. Not only the arts, the skills, but also the science, the facts behind it. That's why in Buddhist teachings, we always teach you, say, karma. What karma do and all these things, the morals of it. But at the end of the day, we also teach the science. What is actually karma, karmic energy, and how the energy manifests, and how is it energy exhausted, how the energy being created. Then you can see the science of it. It all boils down to, at the end of the day, the science and the what you call the techniques of learning. They introduce them to their friends and associates. That means, this is my totai. Introduce to your friends. So that eventually, if later on, who knows, they may want to use them, may want to teach them further, then there is an association created. Now, this one is relevant until today, that when I'm the boss and this is my employee, I'm the sifu and this is my totai, I will then, what you call, encourage them to meet my friends, so that not only do they learn from me, they also learn from my associates. So this is a good teacher. And that's why in a lot of our programs for what you call entrepreneur training, Buddhist entrepreneur training, we will then say you have to adopt a mentor, and you have to find an icon teacher whom you want to emulate and learn and practice under. So we identify the mentors for them and says, okay, you will now come under this mentor, you come under this mentor. Learn what the mentor do, and how did they perform their business, how did they perform their career, and how do they carry themselves amongst employees and friends. So this is good to introduce, right? And then, of course, provide for their safety in every quarter. The teacher must protect the students. And if the students are being ridiculed, then the teacher must come in to save them. And now we come to the husband to the wife. I think we ended up there. Last time we talked about that the husband must be courteous to her, which means to say don't ridicule, don't abuse by using abusive language, don't scold and reprimand in such an abusive manner, and sometimes don't use your hands. So you got to be courteous, and best way to be courteous is always darling, 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 or honey, honey, honey. It's a good practice actually. If you are able to do that to your spouses, somehow our relationship will be better, and things can be forgotten very fast. The moment you say honey, everything forget already, right? And sometimes when they call back also, they say dear, you also melt already. Alright, so being courteous is important. By not despising her for whatever mistakes that they make, they're still your wife, he's still your spouse. So take care of her. Don't despise her. By being faithful. Observe that, you don't follow the Muslim way. You must have ampat, kawin ampat. Our what do you call, our ethics, code of ethics is only satu sajalah. Unless that one breaks away and divorce, whatever, then you are free then to go and another one. If not, that is your one and only. And if that is the case, then you have to be faithful, you have to gain the confidence, you have to, what do you call, provide that confidence to her. Then, by handing over authority, but don't give everything lah. Some people, gaji come back, give to the wife. Why? Because the wife clever to protect the money. There are some husbands who do that. But at the end of the day, you want to spend, then you have to go and ask for your wife pocket money. And the wife says, why you want to spend this money for? No lah, I want to buy a little bit of new t-shirt. They want whole call in. You got to go and ask your wife like that. I think it's not good for the confidence. So in order to do that, I think everybody must maintain their decorum, right? So when you say hand over authority, means there are certain duties. Example, the kitchen is yours, the marketing is yours, or the children's education and the children's affairs are yours. These are what we call compartmentalized. And when you compartmentalize and you hand over authority and says, I won't meddle. I mean, you can deal with whatever you have, and you don't quarrel over this administration. And of course, the fifth one is, once a while, by providing her adornments. A 40-carat diamond will be quite good. Once a while, buy her something like this. And that was what the Buddha at that time already, what do you call, talk about this. And says, you have to appreciate what he has done on the anniversary, on the birthday, and give her a very timely gift to say, I appreciate what you have done. And thank you for all the love and care. Well, this one builds up relationship, and I think it's healthy, right? So these are the what you call the 5 ways that the Buddha advised that we should administer your wife. And now come to the next one, administering to the husband. The one we didn't finish, we didn't start. Now, number 1 is perform her duties well, right? Of course, at that time, the wife is the householder or homemaker. Now, of course, both are working, so you have to join. Sometimes the husband also must do the laundry also lah, and wash the dishes lah. Wife cook, husband wash dishes, or what you call wife iron, husband laundry. If not, then the wife laundry, husband iron. Of course, ironing is the most difficult part lah, right? So you must have your duties and perform your duties well. Now she is hospitable to the relatives and attendants. Now treat the husbands or the wife's relatives as your own. Be hospitable to them, and if they are in the house, take care. Be a good host. And sometimes when your relatives are in need, then jointly try to see how to help. Don't say, oh, this one your relative. No. You take care, nothing to do with me, right? So hospitable to relative, and also to the servants, and also to the attendants. Let's say they are my my PAs, my attendants. So the wife is actually very hospitable to them, take care of them, make sure that they have enough food, make sure they are well rested. Thirdly, of course, faithful, equal. That means to say you have to, you are only one and only husband. Then you have to remain faithful to him and attend to him only. Now, she protects what he brings. That means the husband's ventures and gets a lot of assets. Then the wife should actually help to protect the assets. Of course, many wives will say, in order to protect the assets, make sure my name is inside. Well, it can be. A lot of assets are now in joint names, right? But don't worry, wife. At the end of the day, if the assets are accrued through what you call a matrimonial relationship, if there is any divorce, you are entitled to 50%, right? If you can prove that during that period, it was acquired during the marriage period, and also you have contributed, sometime in finance, you may have also paid for it also, probably in a certain percentage. Or all you have to do is just to take care of your husband, you are already entitled, right? The 50% to the extent, maximum. Here, our law is also like that. Under the Family Reforms Act, the wife is entitled to up to 50%. Sometimes the judge can award maybe 30%, depending on the contribution. And it's appropriate, proportionate. And lastly, of course, skilled and industrious in discharging her duties. That means she must have the skill and ability and hardworkingness in order to discharge the duties. So if the wife can perform all these 5 and the husband can perform all these 5, then there will be a lot of harmony. So this code of ethics is actually advice given by the Buddha to enable happy relationships. Right? I think we continue on to the north. The north is actually to friends and associates. Right? So this is how you deal with your community. First is by liberality. Liberality means don't be hard-headed, don't be narrow-minded. Be liberal. If you can go this way, go this way. If you can go that way, go that way. Don't argue. No point. You waste your time. At the end of the day, if the majority wants it that way, then you say, oh, like that, I resign. No, you can. Otherwise, a lot of voters in the country will say, oh, because you like this government, I don't like this government, I leave the country. So it shouldn't happen that way. Whoever has a majority should actually have the order of the day. So liberality is this attitude. Then courteous speech. Always make sure that your speech is helpful, it benefits. If not, then don't use them. and try to avoid abusive and slanderous and gossips. So again, it falls under our second precept. Fourth precept, musavada. Then by being helpful, your friends and your community, you know, in the Chinese saying, it says that 在家靠亲戚，在外靠朋友, which means to say when you are at home, you rely on your relatives. But when you are outside, actually you rely on your friends. So, but if you don't treat your friends well, then you will never expect the equal treatment back. So it's good to be being helpful in whatever situations, because one day you may be able to help us back. Yesterday I saw this viral TikTok. He talks about this man. He goes to all the passerbys and says, "Can you give me $1, please? Please help me. I'm hungry." And what you call, nobody wants to give. Then there is this person who then stopped and says, "Oh, you are hungry? Okay." Took out $1 and give. And then eventually that TikTok fella say, "Oh, thank you so much. I was doing a social experiment to see who can help me. And since you are helping me," he took out $100 and give it back. So instead of taking the $1, give back the 100 plus the 1, and thank the person for having that idea to help anybody without even any ties attached. So how many of us can do that? When someone approaches and says he's hungry and he needs $1 to eat, but you say, "No, sorry, you should be working, or you should be doing that." So there is a lot of generosity that can be created out of this. So by being helpful, means you have no strings attached. By being impartial, sometimes you don't take sides. Be open-minded and see which one has better points. If they have better points and better merits, then associate with them, help them, and take care of them. And as what you call, be their friend. And lastly, of course, sincere is very important. To have good friends, you need to have that sincerity. Because sometimes we are just like friends because of some ulterior motive. I want to make friend with him so that he can lead me to this person. Or I want to make friend with him because so that he has a lot of money, so that I can tap some of his money and some of his wealth. So there is no sincerity. When that person loses all his wealth, that motive disappears. When that motive disappears, "Oh no, he's not my friend. I'm no longer his friend." Then this is now what you call insincere relationship. So how does the community then should treat and show compassion to that person? Is that they protect him when he's heedless, when he is not able to take care of himself. Then they protect him. They protect his property, but the community will protect his property when he is heedless. Then they also become a refuge if he is in trouble. They do not forsake him when he's in his troubles. And lastly, of course, show consideration for his family. So that's how a community takes care, and that's how you take care of the community of friends. The community of friends eventually will come back. So do good unto others, so that good will be upon you. And this is a universal maxim, and the Buddha has actually highlighted this. And now we talk about employers and employees. And how does an employer attend to the servants and employees? By assigning them work according to their ability. That means to say, if they are capable of doing so many things, then assign them. If they are capable of doing very special things, then assign them. Don't give them things which they can't do. Then at the end they fail, you penalize them. So it's not fair. So it's always good to be able to assign them work according to their ability. And make sure they are well fed, and make sure that they have enough food and wages. So sufficient to survive. So sometimes to a certain extent, marketing staff, the salary structure is always like that, you know. The basic is always enough for them to survive in case of any difficulties. In case there is no sale at all, they couldn't sell, at least they can survive. Then if they can sell, the incentivized scheme comes in. And that if you can sell, then this will be this commission, and this commission will go up according to the tiers. As long as your sale goes up, then the tier also goes up. The more you sell, the more ability you have, the more rewards you get. So they know that basically when they work for you, they will always be able to survive. But if they don't sell more, then they will not be able to get the extra. So the incentives is also very important. So a lot of times when I compare it with my property development company, and then we have a marketing staff, our own marketing staff, and sales staff. And the board is very cool on, don't want to give any incentive, no commission, because I already pay you salary, so you should go there and sell. So there was this occasion where we had a MAPEX, what do you call a trade fair, MAPEX house exhibition, and then we have our sales staff there, and we have another staff that is from the agency. They also was engaged to go there and help to sell. So when a customer walks into the booth, you can see the sales staff from the agency rush. This customer sits down and then shake his leg. Sorry, this is the sales customer service. Shake his leg and look at the customer. Never even lift a finger in order to go and help to sell. Why? Because sell or no sell also are like that. So that you can see the difference. So when we took a video of this and eventually show it to the board, then only the board realized that actually you have to incentivize your own marketing staff also. So at that time, then things happen. Until one fine day now, he says, no point like have your own marketing staff. Might as well outsource totally to marketing. In Singapore, they don't have their own marketing staff within the organization. It's all marketing agencies take over. So it's an outsource. And so effective. The sales are all very effective. If you have your own marketing staff and sales staff, not effective. Right? So you must make sure that they have sufficient wages, sufficient earnings, so that then they can be incentivized, they will work for you, they will help you to do your business. By tending them in sickness, now of course there is hospitality, insurance, all the companies are now taking. And sometimes when your workers are sick, they go to see the company doctor, they don't have to pay, right, for single sickness. But if they're hospitalized, then the insurance will then steps in. So it's good to be able to take care of them. And a lot of companies who offers this kind of facilities, they tend to have good staff. Those which are very stingy about it, then the staff will find that they are not taking care of my welfare, they will leave. And by sharing with them any delicacies, this is important. Sometimes when the boss come back from Australia, chocolates, and then distribute chocolates in the office. Share the delicacies, right? And sometimes the boss wife cook old tau ko, 2-3 trays, bring to the office. Oh, these are all for you. I tell you, the staff will die for you, right? Because they have been taken care of. And it's always a good thing to think of them in that manner, rather than say, hey, I pay you gaji, you must work for me. You must do all the tasks. You must finish all your duties. You must finish all the KPIs. Then at the end of the day, you keep on driving like this. One by one will run away. This is a very nasty boss. Nasty company to work for. And some companies have actually, accumulate this kind of reputation. And very difficult to hire good staff, right? Then, by granting them leave at proper times, they come to tell you that their family is having problem. They need to take leave. Their wives is having delivering a baby. They have to take a time off. Or you do meet with some nasty companies which says no, wait until the news comes in, then only you go. Then emergency only we give to you. But if not, then you cannot take maternity leave early, or you cannot take early leave in order to go to work. So granting them leave at proper times is also one of the ways. So these are the 5 ways that the master or the company should be taking care of their servants as well as their employees. Then, how does the employee treat the husband, the master? Is that they must always rise before him, arrive in office before the master, before the boss. The boss come, the staff still not arrived yet, right? Or the master wake up already, the servant still sleeping in the room, or the maid is still sleeping in the room. This is not the right, what do you call, ethics. They go to sleep after him. Well, if the chores are done and everything is over, then of course up to the master. Master want to sleep late at night and watch TV, that is his problem already. The servant goes to sleep early, but he has to make sure that all the duties are done, the master don't need them anymore, then they go to sleep. Same thing with employees to the companies, right? That if the office is not closed, they must also make sure that the welfare of the office is also in their minds, and they look after the office. They take only what is given. I know of what do you call airline, right? Airline always got the liquor, wine, and then they are very stingy, to serve the wine to the passengers, and ask for more. Min chow chow. You want to give a little bit. And after that, you go to the back, the gantry there, gallery there. Then you see them stuffing all the bottles of wine into the bags. And these are not putting back into the what do you call, the box, but putting it into the bags. And after that, to be taken away. This wine is meant for customers, not meant for them. But they are sorok in order to take away. And this one exactly. They take only what is given. But this one is taking what is not given. Right? So it's wrong. You are stealing from your company. You are stealing from your masters. And of course, there are also sad stories about servants, hiding the jewelry and the money of their employers. Now, if you are a servant, then you have to follow these ethics. Then they perform their duties well. You have your duties given to you. You do it well, you will be rewarded. There's never a time when the boss will never appreciate what you do if it is being done very well. And relationship will become better. And some of them, employer and employee are like abang adik, sisters. They go everywhere together, they laugh, they watch TV together also, to the extent, because they eventually develop a good relationship. As a result of this, they know that no matter what kind of relationship, each side will perform their own share of duties. And then of course, the boss, they will always take care of the boss. They won't go outside and talk bad about the boss. My boss, do all these things. And then, of course, you always protect the secrets of your bosses or your employers. So these are the 5 things that the employees or servants will have to do to take care of their masters. So how do you take care of the Brahmins and ascetics, or the Sangha, put it this way? This is some of the 5 ways that you can take care of your Sangha. First, of course, is by doing lovable deeds. Action that can actually shower your compassion on them, your love for them. You want to take care of them. And your words are good words. You take care of them by saying good things about them. And also at the same time, when you address them in good manners. Then lovable thoughts, always think well of them, right? Wish them well, because they are your teachers actually. And because they are your teachers, they take care of your mind, they give you good education and teachings, then always have good thoughts about them. And by keeping your open house to them, invite them to your house, right? For dana. And so that you can say, oh no, I only go to the center to offer dana. Once a while I invite them to my house. I show them my house. And lastly, of course, by taking care of their needs. in the practice of the Buddha's teaching, we say by taking care of their 4 requisites. What are the 4 requisites? Is that their robes, their food, their medicine, and a roof. That means building a center or a temple in order to give them a roof over their heads. So as long as you do this, then you are actually taking care of your Brahmins, or your ascetics, or your Sangha. Right? Next one. Next one is actually how does ascetic of Brahmins or monks take care of their disciples or their followers? Restrain them from evil. That means to say always advise them to do good, avoid evil, purify their minds. This is the teachings of all the Buddhas. Then persuade them to do good. Sometimes, you take refuge in the Sangha. What do you mean by take refuge in the Sangha? Whenever you are in trouble, you have difficulties, you go to the Buddha first. Buddha means you go before the Buddha image, come to the center, sit, look at the Buddha, and then talk to the Buddha. Talk to the Buddha and says, since the Buddha, you have done all the things possible to overcome all this. If you can do it, so can I. Then you get inspired. That means you have taken refuge in the Buddha, and the Buddha has, by his example, show you how to overcome your difficulties. But sometimes this relationship didn't work because you only see the Buddha once a year during Vesak Day. So if that is the case, then you come before and say, hey, really, you can help me. Your relationship no good. So you have to go to the second refuge. The second refuge is the Dhamma, the teachings. What did the teaching say when someone faced with this type of problem? What was the advice given? You must have read it, you must have heard it, you must have discussed it. Then you remember all this and say, when this kind of problem, this is how you solved it. Therefore, by your own effort, you remember the Buddha's teachings and then you resolved your difficulty. But if it doesn't help, every time you listen, sini masuk, sini keluar. So you doesn't absorb anything. Wow, I can't remember any teachings that can help me. That one, second refuge, tak boleh pakai. So now you have to go to your Kui San Pao, the third one. So the third one is the Sangha. The Sangha means you go to the monks, the learned monks, or sometimes even to the learned brothers and sisters who are more well-versed in the Buddha's teaching. And you say, now, you have this kind of difficulties and you are facing with these kind of problems. What is your advice? Then they will take their, opportunity to advise you. That the Buddha in this sutta teaches this, the Buddha in this teaching said this, the Buddha in the Dhammapada mentioned this. So when you get this kind of advice and teaching, then you say, why not I apply? And then you resolved it. But many of us are very afraid to tell your personal problem and shy to tell. So if you are shy, don't worry. You just said, my friend got a problem. And she or she asked me to come and consult with you. Of course, the venerable or the brother or sister understand and say, tell your friend, this is how you solve your problem. Third refuge, that was what the meaning of Kui San Pao. Kui San Pao means whenever you are difficulties or having problems, go to the Buddha for your refuge. See whether it can help resolve the problem. Sometimes after sitting here for some time, looking at this image, your mind calms down. You become more at peace. After looking at the Buddha, you get inspired. Then you remember who this person is, how he overcome all the difficulties and resolve his problem. Then that becomes an inspiration and says, if you can do it, so can I. So that refuge really works. But of course, if it doesn't work, then second line of defense. Second line of defense is your Dhamma, the teachings which you have heard, you have read, you have discussed, then use them. If cannot, then you go to the Sangha. Then check up with them and says, can you please advise me what I shall do? And normally if you are, having saddha, or you have taken 3 refuge, this 3 is good enough. If really this 3 cannot work, never mind, then there's a stone there, you can go and pray. Or there's a tree there, you can go and pray. Right? But as a Buddhist, we all know that if you have Kui San Pao, that confidence is always there to resolve your problem, because no problem is unsolvable. You can always solve it if you can find the cause and you can cease from the cause. and using the right method to cease from the cause of the arising, then you are able to solve that problem. The Four Noble Truths, the formula that we learn in the Four Noble Truths, 四圣谛, they call it. So they persuade him to do good, and they love him with a kind heart, compassionate. All the teachers, the venerables, and the monks, the sanghas, they actually have you in their minds. They take care of you, they love you, they want to actually help you. And of course, there's a symbiotic relationship. You take care of their needs, the requisites, then they take care by giving you good advice and leading you from evil to goodness. They make him hear what he has not heard. That means to say, he may not have heard some suttas. So by their knowledge, since they are well trained, then they reveal the new suttas to these devotees. They clarify what he has already heard. That means if you have heard something, they may have not understood it properly, then clarify for them and tell them exactly what the meaning was. And they point out the path to the heavenly state, which means to say, live a good life, do the good things, purify the good mind, and eventually they will end up in a good rebirth. So that is the duty of the ascetic, the Brahmins, or the Sangha. So the mother and the father are the east, the teachers are the south, the wife and children are the west, the friends and associates are the north, servants and employees are the nadir, and the ascetics and the Brahmins are the zenith. Who is fit to lead a whole household life? These 6 quarters he shall salute. In other words, if you want to do it, you can also worship in the 6th direction. But in your mind, you are worshipping these 6 quarters and observe the ethics that is associated with them. Okay? So with that, I end the Sigalovada Sutta. Thank you very much.